It's Mrs. Reyes. With the beauty of the 21st century technology, I can actually be in the classroom when I'm not. So without losing any instructional time, I can actually show you what is expected so you can't tell me tomorrow that you did not get these instructions. Also, I will be reading with you as well, the final part of chapter 9 with you. Of course, I won't be reading all of pages 118 to 126. It'll be your responsibility where I stop. And of course, you don't have the book at home, but for your PDF, it's specifically pages 35 to 37. Remember that your reading log is due next Monday. This is the final reading log for Animal Farm. And tomorrow I will be stamping Tuesday's reading log. So first and foremost, you should have already stamped your reading log and your bell ringer for the week. You do not have one for today as it's Tuesday, and we'll continue tomorrow with the Wednesday's wise words. Also, you should have already done your NoRedInk Quiz. I will enter that as soon as possible, hopefully by today. And let's go ahead and proceed with our reading log for Tuesday's character change over time. I'm going to read the second part with you, and I want you to follow along. But before I do want to mention a few things that are due. Chapter 9 review questions are due at the start of class tomorrow. Once again, at the start of class tomorrow, I will stamp Chapter 9. Although I will not collect it until Friday, simply because you still have Chapter 10 to do. And Friday is your big day as you are taking your test, and that will account for 100 points in your test category. And that's the final assessment that you will have for this semester, and it can significantly change your grade. So I encourage you to study and know your book. It is an open book test, so rest assured you don't have to memorize everything, but you do need to understand the story plot and also the vocabulary. I will choose 5 vocabulary words from this selection that I've given you on Google Slides, and the slide, since it's electronic, it will be due at 11:59 on Friday as well. So let's go ahead and look at have your reading log out ready to go. For today's section, it is, I'm going to pull it for you. We are right here in the reading log section for character change over time. It is December 12th, and the pages are on the board for you. The 3 main ideas, the third one you will have to find on your own, since we're talking about main ideas and central ideas for the IAB. Really want you to make that independent decision and know your part right here. But I've provided 2 sections for you. The first part of today's reading will be about Sugar Candy Mountain, where the raven of Moses comes in and tells everyone there is a better life for you out there. Obviously, the pigs do not agree, simply because they want their animals, their people, I guess animals here, to be happy with their living situation, even though it's dire. And so Moses is kind of corrupting them in that sense. Also, we'll find out about Boxer's departure, and you'll get into a little more detail over here if you can just finish reading the rest of today's pages and then writing your main ideas. So for character change over time, we're going to focus on Boxer and his devoted friends. For the question number 1, it says compare and contrast the character's attitude with others. Boxer's devoted friends this is a typo right here, want to help him with his recovery. Remember, in the last battle, which was one that they thought they were going to lose, but they won toward the very, very end at the 11th hour, simply because they were so angry, provoked by the fact that their windmill was destroyed. And at the very end, they did win, but unfortunately, they lost their windmill. In addition to that, many of them had serious injuries, and Boxer being one himself. Mentally, he still had the same motto where he wanted to continue his hard work and help Napoleon, but of course, with his injuries, it delayed his process. Boxer's devoted friends want to help him with his recovery. However, the leaders see him now as useless and a possible threat, considering way before, in a couple of chapters ago, I believe chapter 7, where we had a massive casualty, where one of the 4 pigs jumped to Boxer for his rescue, and he pretty much threatened Napoleon's dog. So right there, he is a possible threat as well. So they are not looking at him in a positive light. And if it's consistent at all with what Napoleon does, obviously we can foreshadow that it's not going to look good for our dear friend Boxer. So I want you to draw this conclusion. We're going to read and you're going to find a quote to back it up. You're going to find a quote that shows that Boxer is no longer looked in a positive light. And number two, due to the injustice toward Boxer, his friends may what? And you want to fill in the rest for complete points on your end. So let's now go to page 118 at the very top where Moses, the raven, is talking to the others about Sugar Candy Mountain. But to make that clear transition, I'm going to start off on the very bottom of page 117. Many of the animals believed him. Their lives, now, they reasoned, were hungry, laborious. Was it not right and just that a better world should exist somewhere else? A thing that was difficult to understand, to determine, was the attitude of the pigs toward Moses. They all declared contemptuously that his stories about Sugar Candy Mountain were lies, and yet they allowed him to remain on the farm, not working, with an allowance of a gill of a beer a day. After his hoof had healed up, poor Boxer worked harder than ever. Indeed, all the animals worked like slaves that year. Apart from the regular work of the farm and the rebuilding of the windmill, there was a schoolhouse for the young pigs, which was started in March. Sometimes the long hours on sufficient food were hard to bear, but Boxer never faltered. In nothing that he said or did was there any sign that his strength was not what it had been. It was only his appearance that was a little altered and changed. His hind was less shiny than it had used to be, and his great haunches seemed to have shrunken. The others said, "Boxer will pick up when the spring grass comes on." But the spring came, and Boxer grew no fatter. Sometimes on the slope leading to the top of the quarry, when he braced his muscles against the weight of some vast boulder, it seemed that nothing kept him on his feet except the will to continue. At such times his lips were seen to form the words, I will work harder, and he had no voice left. Once again Clover and Benjamin warned him to take care of his health, but Boxer paid no attention. His 12th birthday was approaching. He did not care what happened so long as a good store of stone was accumulated and built before he went on pension, retirement. Late one evening in the summer, a sudden rumor ran around the farm that something had happened to Boxer. He had gone out alone to drag a load of stone down on the windmill, and sure enough, the rumor was true. A few minutes later, 2 pigeons came racing in with the news. Boxer has fallen. He's lying on the side and can't get up." About half the animals on the farm rushed out to the knoll, to the hill where the windmill stood. There lay Boxer between the shafts of the cart, his neck stretched out, unable even to raise his head. His eyes were glazed and sides matted with sweat, and a thin stream of blood had trickled out of his mouth. Clover dropped to her knees at his side. Boxer, she cried. How are you?" "It's my lung," said Boxer in a weak voice. "It does not matter. I think you will be able to finish the windmill without me. There is plenty good store of stone accumulated. I had only another month to go. In any case, to tell you the truth, I had been looking forward to my retirement, and perhaps, as Benjamin is growing old too, they will let him retire at the same time and be a companion to me." "We must get help at once," said Clover. Run, somebody, and tell Squealer what has happened." All the other animals immediately raced back to the farmhouse to give Squealer the news. Only Clover remained, and Benjamin, who lay down at Boxer's side and without speaking, kept the flies off of him in his long tail. After about a quarter of an hour, Squealer appeared, full of sympathy and concern. He said that Comrade Napoleon had learned with his very deepest distress of this misfortune to one of his most loyal workers on the farm, and was already making arrangements to send Boxer to be treated in the hospital at Willingdon. The animals felt a little uneasy at this, except for Molly and Snowball. No other animal had ever left the farm, and they did not like to think one of their sick comrade in the hands of human beings. However, Squealer easily convinced them that the veterinary surgeon in Willingdon would treat Boxer's case more satisfactorily than could be done on the farm. And about half an hour later, when Boxer had somewhat recovered, he was, with difficulty, got on his feet and managed to limp back to a stall where Clover and Benjamin had prepared a good bed and straw for him. For the next 2 days, Boxer remained in his stall. The pigs had sent out a large bottle of pink medicine, which they had found in the medicine chest in the bathroom, and Clover administered it to Boxer twice a day after meals. In the evenings, he lay in the stall and talked to him, while Benjamin kept the flies off of him. Boxer professed not to be sorry for what had happened. If he had a good recovery, he might expect to live another 3 years, and he looked forward to the peaceful days that he would spend in the corner of the big pasture. It would be the first time that he had had leisure to study and improve his mind. He intended, he said, to devote the rest of his life to learning the remainder 22 letters of the alphabet. However, Benjamin and Clover could only be with Boxer after working hours, and it was in the middle of the day that when the van came to take him away. The animals were all at work weeding turnips under the supervision of a pig when they were astonished to see Benjamin come galloping from the direction of the farm buildings, braying on top of his voice. It was the first time that it had ever seen Benjamin excited. Indeed, it was the first time that anyone had seen him gallop. "Quick, quick!" he shouted. "Come at once! They're taking Boxer away!" Without waiting for orders from the pig, the animals broke off and raced back to the farm buildings. Sure enough, there in the yard was a large closed van drawn by 2 horses with lettering on its side, and a sly looking man in a low-crowned boiler hat sitting on the driver's seat, and Boxer's stall was empty. The animals crowded round the van. "Goodbye, Boxer," they chorused. "Goodbye." "Fools, fools!" shouted Benjamin, prancing around them and stamping the earth with his small hoofs. "Fools, do you not see what is written on the side of that van?" That gave the animals pause, and there was a hush. Muriel began to spell out the words, but Benjamin pushed her aside. In the midst of a deadly silence, he read, "Alfred Simmons, horse slaughterer and glue boiler, Willingdon, dealer in hides and bone meal kennels supplied." "Do you understand what that means? They are taking Boxer to the knackers!" A cry of horror burst from all the animals. And this is where I'm going to stop, and you are going to finish the conclusion of Tuesday's reading log. Don't forget to include your third main idea. Of course, you want to read ahead. As I stopped on page 123, you have only about 2 pages front and back to read. And don't forget to write in present tense, because this is a fictional text of your summary, 2 to 3 sentences. And pick a quote that shows Boxer's devoted friends and how they feel about what Napoleon did. And again, I did not complete the second portion of the drawing conclusion. Due to the injustice towards Boxer, his friends may what? Once you're done with that, you also need to know, once again, this is all considered either independent time with the remainder period that you have or homework. Please do chapters 9 review questions as they are all due chapter 9 at the start of class tomorrow, and I will stamp it. And also you can work on chapters 1 through 10 vocabulary for the slides. I do want to mention that chapter 8, the 5th vocabulary word is repeated. So I apologize for that mistake. Go ahead for chapter 8, do only of the 4, skip the 5th one. I will not count that against you. And I will see you tomorrow.